Alrighty. Hello, everybody.
What it do?
What it do, indeed.
What it do? What it don't? You know what I mean? You ever think about that?
No. I did think about that. Hi, everybody. Sorry we're a little bit late. Mike was changing a baby. I'm dying. You know.
But you're also living, man.
You know. Yeah,
you're also living.
We are not in the same locations because I am homesick. But we kind of didn't really have another day to do this because Mike's about to go to Ireland. Allegedly. So we're kind of like, let's do it today. I have 100 fever, so I might start.
So maybe some super chats for Nick's fever. Super chats would be great.
Sick. Spent all last night throwing up. It was great.
Is preferable. It was a prep for a live stream.
So I'm on like 1 hour sleep. So we're gonna make this one quick. We're actually not gonna do a Q&A today because it might kill Nick. I don't know if I can make it through that, fam. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. But so we're gonna talk about everything we played this month. It was a good month. I think 37 games, Mikey.
I mean, for the shortest month, I think we compensated quite well. You know?
Yeah, we did. But I got to play a bunch of games without you because I was up in Minnesota with Chip Theory games, and then you played a bunch of games without me. So yeah, it was actually a decent amount of games that we did not play with each other this week. So so at the beginning of our wrap reviews, we always shout out our newest patrons.
Yeah.
So let's give a big shout out to our newest patron. Thank you so much for being a patron. If you want to be a patron, check out the link down in the description below. We always have usually supplemental top 10s, some Q&A stuff, unboxings, that kind of cool stuff.
We try to keep it fun out there.
Yeah, fun and easy, you know. So we got Lurking Dragonfly, Adam Beardsley.
Beardsley.
Jason Kebellon.
Thank you.
Matt Coates, Jennifer Haar, Steve Harrington, Jennifer Douglas, Katie Nevison, Mikkel Polson, and Jardine Coleman. Thank you so much for being new patrons, y'all.
Thank you so much, everyone. Continued patrons, patrons Crystal. Of your Crystal. Thank you. Says get that overpriced juice and heal that body.
I'm not gonna lie, fam. It took me 4 hours to eat one banana because my stomach is still not having it. So I'm basically just drinking water because it seems to be the only thing I can keep down. So
there you go. Hydration is key, man. Hydration is key. Get you some Pedialyte. Get you some electrolytes up in there.
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
well, thank you so much. SEK. What currency is SEK? I'm trying to think. Thank you so much for that, though. Appreciate you.
I'm going to say that's kroner. I'm going to say that's Scandinavian kroner of some kind, but I have no idea. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
Kroners.
That's what I'm thinking.
Thank you so much, y'all. Yeah, we're here. We're doing it.
We're out here doing it. Nick, let's talk about some games that we played,
Let's talk about some games. It was a good month. Alrighty. So let's start off. Mikey, I got to play 20 Strong.
You did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did get to play 20 Strong.
How was it, man?
It was fun. It was cool. So I got to play 20 Strong. So 20 Strong is by Chip Theory Games. I spent a weekend up in Chip Theory Games headquarters, which I got to play the new Elder Scrolls game, which we'll talk about in a second. 20 Strong is a solo game. Actually has no chips as far as I know, but it's a little dice game.
Just some dice and cards, right?
Yeah. A Swedish kroner. Okay, we were right. Mike could call it the kroners.
It's all up here, folks.
But yeah, so it's a game where you have a deck of cards and there's a bunch of different decks. The decks are going to be themed for the most part to other Chip Theory titles. So there's going to be a Too Many Bones set.
Exactly.
There's going to be a Burn Cycle set, all that kind of stuff. Cloudspire set. This one actually wasn't. This one was like these kind of like Sentinel things. This was not a themed one as far as I know.
Right.
And it's cool. Yeah, it's like, so basically you're going to have to bring down, you have like 3 decks of these cards. And then they're all kind of shuffled up. There's like tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 threats, essentially. You have to bring one down that you're going to be fighting this round. And they have a whole bunch of different abilities. Sometimes they might bring down other cards. And then they might have some kind of ongoing ability. Like it's kind of got the Hopomakis dice where there's like green dice, yellow dice, red dice.
Yeah, a certain amount of successes on them kind of thing.
Exactly. And so it might be like you can't use black dice on this particular card.
Right.
And then when you defeat them, you also... they're usually going to have some kind of benefit on them. And some of those benefits are right away. Some you can keep to use later. It was cool. I played it with me and Danielle Standring kind of co-opted it together. It was good. It was a bit long, and that might have been because we were kind of co-oping, which means we were discussing a lot more. And we were also kind of had a lot of questions because we were just kind of learning the game. So it was very, very cool. But with that kind of game, I would really want it to be like sub 30 minutes. And
because that's that's the answer to like the normal chip theory size
exactly.
of games, right?
Exactly. So I really want it to be like a short game. And again, you can't judge it based off of just this, but it was like an hour that we played it. And so I'm hoping that it's shorter. But it was cool though. 20 Strong was very, very cool.
I'm very intrigued by that. I just love the idea of where you can just basically slot in new stories and stuff and have it be based on their games. I think it's a smart system for sure.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah. Mike, we played a Tiwa.
We did. Oh my gosh, it lived up to the hype. This is a new Uwe Rosenberg game really that fun. We saw. I think it was being demoed at Essen, and maybe it was for sale in German. I'm not sure 100%, but either way,
it was an Essen release. I think.
Yeah. So it is all about bats and kind of your relationship to the natural world in Africa and. The real story of kind of like these fruit bats, which were seen as these pests because they're eating your fruit, and they would be kind of hunted and treated as pests. And then the realization came that like, oh man, these are vitally important to the ecosystem here, and like help the fruit tree population thrive and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of put together in this game where you're going to be getting cards and stuff, and you're going to be placing them out. Using like just very simple worker placement spots and stuff that Ube is fond of course. But what's really cool is you have this player board that has like your fruit, your trees, different types of animals and things like that. And you ultimately want to get as many of those things off of your player board as possible and onto these various cards that you can acquire throughout the game that are going to be all sorts of, landscapes and stuff, or like settlements and cities as your kind of population grows. But there's this kind of ebb and flow. If you want to get all these trees put out onto the lands, because that signifies, the growing ecosystem. But then you're going to use those trees at times, take them off the land and put them back on your player board to build like settlements and stuff. You need to kind of make use of those materials. And so there's this kind of like ebb and flow of getting stuff off your board, managing, bringing them back onto your board, and then getting them back off again. And it's just really neat. It's a really neat kind of different feel where that kind of relationship between a player board and these cards that you're getting while doing kind of like pretty simple worker placement stuff. I thought it was fantastic. It feels very thematic for a Uwe Rosenberg game and very different for a Uwe Rosenberg game simply because of the setting and stuff, the theming. So I was a big fan.
Yeah, it's definitely still Uwe stuff, but it does feel different, and it's really cool. That kind of push and pull between taking stuff off your board and then putting it, then getting rid of it, having to put it back on. That kind of tug of war with yourself was really, really cool. I liked it Tiwa a lot.
Yeah, it was awesome.
All right. I got to play Autobahn.
Yes, you did.
Good friend Nate.
Yeah. How was that one? I've been intrigued by that one.
Yeah, it's cool. You'll like it because it's got some brass vibes where you are laying down track, the Autobahn. I guess it's not track. You're laying down freeways,
roads,
essentially.
Yeah.
And the game takes place over, I think it starts in the 60s and moves up to modern day. So there's certain parts of the Autobahn that you could lay track on or lay a freeway on in the beginning of the game, but you can't other parts because they hadn't been built yet in terms of the timeline.
Oh, cool.
And so there's essentially a bunch of different roads, like a purple road, an orange road, and a black road, a white road, a red road, and stuff like that. And you're putting down these roads, and then you're trying to deliver goods to different parts of Germany. So like this part of Germany here wants like appliances, like washers and dryers, stuff like that. And then you can pick up those appliances from somewhere else. You also have these trucks, so you pick them up and you're driving these trucks down this road. But it's kind of like one of those things where if other people are using your roads, you get benefits. You're also putting out service.
Pay the toll.
Kind of, yeah. In you're putting out service stations, like gas stations, essentially. And whenever you pass one of your gas stations, you get bonuses depending on how many gas stations you've unlocked. If someone else passes your gas station, you get kind of bonuses and stuff. It's really, really cool. It was really fun. I liked it a lot. It was pretty darn rad. And so I liked Autobahn quite a bit. It was good. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I do enjoy games that there's this kind of symbiotic relationship of like, I'm gonna get a little something if you come use this, but you're gonna get something too. That does sound pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, Jeremiah, we are remote because I have 100-degree fever and I'm very sick. But we wanted to not miss our streams, so I am homesick.
Yeah.
What's up, Jared? And Jeremy's a good point. Maybe there's no paper money in games because U.S. currency is so boring, and I fully agree. U.S. currency
I do think
is
that's a piece of it.
crazy boring. But Mikey,
I don't know why we haven't made cooler money.
I don't know. Why don't you talk about Deep Dive, Mikey?
Deep Dive is a push your luck game
Dive.
coming from Flat Out Games. This is a game where you're going to be, you have 3 penguins and stuff, and you're diving down into kind of deeper and deeper waters looking for snacks. You're trying to have fishes and things like that. You're trying to have a nice meal for yourself. As you kind of get deeper into the water, there's more and more predators down there. There's like orcas and sharks and then giant squids and stuff.
The giant squids are good. The giant squids are good.
Yeah. So on a turn, what you're going to do is you're going to go down. You have to start off from the surface. You have to go to the first kind of depth level and flip over a tile. And then, assuming that's just like a food thing, you can decide to push it and kind of go further down where the food becomes more valuable for yourself, or you can just take that and resurface. Or if there's some flipped over tiles that are already face up, when you get down to that first level, you can just decide to take that and surface immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Now, of course, if you go down deeper and things, you get more points, but there's 3 colors and you want to score full points. Each tile needs to be part of like a row of a complete set of all 3 colors. So you kind of want to diversify the colors that you're getting. So that might push you deeper because, there's a bunch of yellow here. I already have a bunch of yellow. I need to get pink and green to be able to fill out these sets to make sure I don't get only half points and things like that. And if you engage with a predator, your penguin gets stuck essentially.
Yeah, they don't die, which is nice.
No, they're just tasseling with the, wrestling around with the shark or whatever. Okay. And so you have other penguins you can drop down. And one thing that's interesting is that if you have one of your penguins drops into a level, they have one of your other penguins in that's with a predator, you can just jump over to the next level, you go straight down to the next deepest level. You kind of leapfrog. So that's kind of a way to actually get down deeper quicker. So it's something you kind of work with and everything, but it's a really simple kind of set collection game. Push your luck, feels kind of deep sea adventure-y in that the deeper you go, the kind of more valuable, more it may be, but it's very streamlined and simple. So it's a nice little push game that's coming from Flat Out.
I'll say straight up, I like this a lot more than Deep Sea Adventure because it's got the push your luck, but Deep Sea Adventure is like really punishing, and then having the set collection on top of this is kind of like, for me, this is a Deep Sea Adventure killer, personally, for me.
Yeah, I might agree with that simply because I love Deep Sea Adventure, but it's like if you get down and you pick up like 2 things and it slows your movement by 2 and you're running out of air and like there's just Deep Dive just strips away and keeps it very simple. Like I'm gonna try to go as deep as I can. Oh man, it's a squid. My person's really fun, lost now, and and so I think it just keeps it like really smooth, which is great. Yeah. Great for that kind of game.
Yeah, it good. All right, I got to play the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era game. So this is why I was out at Chip Theory's headquarters in Minnesota, was to check out this game. Mikey unfortunately couldn't go, but I got to go hang out and check it out. And I really, really liked it. It's very much a Chip Theory game. There's definitely like some Too Many Bones vibes going on in terms of like combat and stuff. There's definitely some Hoplomachus vibes in terms of like combat specifically. But it's very Elder Scrolls the same way. So it's one of those things where it's like if you don't like Chip Theory games, I don't think this is going to change your mind because I
think that's a general
they have a feel. But it's cool. So like you get to customize your characters, and the customization is actually like pretty darn good. Where you are going to have some kind of race. Like I was an Argonian. And then I think the other one was like an Imperial, and then you get some kind of class, like a mage or a warrior or a thief. And then you can also train in different, like essentially tech trees. Like you can get like Restoration or Destruction or Sneak, or One-Handed or Two-Handed and Conjuring, all of them basically. We only had access to a couple of them. And essentially those are going to get you different dice. And then when you're fighting, particularly, the game is a lot about fighting. You're basically doing quests, and as you're trying to get to the end of the quest, you can go on like delves, which are essentially going to be like dungeon crawls. There's going to be enemies in there. You can also just like fight like kind of bandits around. Kind of depends on what part you're doing.
Yeah.
It's really, really fun though. And the way it's got this really cool cooldown system, which sounds, I know, like kind of boring. It's like the cooldown system, though, was like the coolest part of the whole combat system, where you have these white fatigue dice. And so you have a lot of options in the game where you can constantly like kind of like, hey, I'm going to take kind of like a second turn, essentially, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to push this way. Or like when you're lockpicking, which of course is a big part of it, because Skyrim's all about lockpicking a lot of the times. You can like keep trying on a lockpick, but you're getting fatigue if you do so. And fatigue basically clogs up your cooldown deck. And at the end of your turn, all the dice you use are going to go into your cooldown row, not deck. But at the end of your turn, you only get a certain amount of dice from your cooldown row back. So, like, you get like 2 back or 3 back or 4 back. And so it's one of those things where you can't keep hitting the same things over and over and over again. If you have this really awesome like destruction spell, you can't just keep doing it because it's going to go to your cooldown track and it's going to take a turn or two for it to come back and those dice to come back. So you really have to change all this different stuff up. It's really, really fun. And we got to see such a small amount. We only had access to like 3 of the classes, 2 of the races, like 4 of the abilities, the tech tree kind of things. And there's going to be a lot more. And so it was really so much cool. In that game. Yeah, I liked it. Me and Danielle Standring played it, and then right after we played it, we demoed it with the Chip Theory people. We then immediately went and grabbed a second prototype copy of it and went and played it with Danielle's husband Todd because we wanted to keep playing. We wanted to keep going.
That's a pretty good sign, especially for a big game like that.
We had a really good time. I liked it that's so lot. Cool. Yeah,
it got me excited. I like mostly I know Elder Scrolls via you and playing the games and stuff, so it got me really excited to try it for sure.
And I don't think you have to know Elder Scrolls or like Elder Scrolls to like this game either, which is nice.
Yeah, it's preferable.
I'm gonna play a little Fuji Flush, which
tell us about it, man. You all know I love it.
Yeah, Fuji Flush is great. Fuji Flush is a game where you are trying to get rid of your cards. You have like 5 cards in your hand, or numbers 2 through 20. And you're going to put down a card, just like a 4 or something like that. And then if someone puts one higher than you, a card higher than you, it's going to flush you, which means you have to get rid of that card and you have to draw another one. And so you can, so you're essentially what you want to do is you want to put down a high enough card so that it gets back around to you and no one's beaten your card yet. If you do that, you get to get rid of your card and now you have one less card, which is great. Yep. But it's got this really cool stacking mechanism where if I put a 2 and then Mike puts a 2 right after me, or basically we then have a 4 because those combine. And then the next person puts down a 2, we now have a 6. So you can start stacking these and making these trains. Like 2 chew trains and 3
chew trains. Yeah.
13 you get very, trains.
It gets very culty very fast. Yes. You're like,
because if I put down a 13 and then someone else puts down a 13, now we have a 26. And it's really, really fun. It's just one of the best party games out there. It's really, really great. I'm so happy I finally got to try it. I really want to pick it up. I thought
it's really, really great for like a really big group as well. Fuji Flush is, we got to track it down sometime. It's really simple and solid.
Very good. Mike, you played a little Habitats.
Played a little Habitats with our good friend Jimmy, which was nice because we've played Nova Luna, we've played obviously Framework a bunch, Sagani. All these games that Uwe Rosenberg has been doing were originally inspired by certain aspects of Habitats.
Yeah.
So this is a tile-laying game. It's by All Play Now, formerly Board Game Tables. I guess you're kind of building out like a safari park, is what you're doing with the tile drafting. You have a little Jeep that you're driving around on the kind of area where you would be drafting tiles, and wherever you stop, you can pick one of up to 3 tiles that you choose and you add on. And they're going to be all sorts of different things. There's like animals that want to be surrounded by certain types of habitats, certain types of colors, essentially. And there's that flow-through adjacency mechanism that we see. That's what Uwe Rosenberg kept for like Nova Luna and things like that, where if you have basically an unbroken chain of green, all those things are considered adjacent to that one tile, even though they're physically not touching that one tile anymore. So there's things like that. This one has like a bunch of scoring. There's like animals score that way. Habitats, you want to have a bunch of different groups based off of some like end game objective goals. There's like watchtowers that if you have an animal or flowers in a certain like direction, like diagonally away from it this way, that'll give you a point. Gates have to be at the edge of your kind of compound. You can't have anything share the sides with them, but they're worth points. There's a bunch of like different things.
So is it heavier?
Not really, but maybe a little bit, because there's like more ways to score. It's not just like thing with tasks and frames, right? That's all Framework is.
Yeah,
so I guess in that sense, and there's like end of round objectives and stuff, so slightly heavier in that way. But I actually really quite enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really solid, and a good inspiration. So it's one that I would keep that M framework because it is different enough from framework because of the different types of things you can score.
Cool.
Thought it was pretty cool, and I definitely at the end of the game was like, oh, I could have done this, that, and that differently, and that would have been cool. So that was fun.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it was nice.
That's rad. You played Inish.
I played Inish. I had played once before, but it was so long ago. I decided to put on like the new games.
Right.
It was before I started.
There's a couple
before
of
I started,
here, honestly, yeah.
Yeah, it's before I started like tracking plays. So I'm like, if I haven't played it since then, it's effectively new. So Inish is a card drafting area control game. That's just funky. It's a funky game.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Sounds like you hate it.
It's weird. It's just a funky game. Yeah. So you're drafting out these cards, and there's like, I don't know, 15 odd cards in the game. There's really not many, which is kind of cool that like you start to really know the cards well, and you're kind of waiting for certain things to appear. And ultimately, you're going to get your people on a map on these different locations. More locations will get added, so the map kind of grows as the game goes. And you're kind of going for different goals. You want to have like control of 6 areas and put out these different things. So it was fun. The combat in the game is like really weird. And it's just something where I'm like, there had to have been a better way for this. And it's sort of, it falls a little bit into like, oh, this person's in the lead. Go get them. Don't let them win.
Okay.
They're about to win. You can't let them win. If they start their next turn and they're still in the lead, they're going to win. So stop them. So it can be like definitely king making in the game, which I think is just sort of like, So as I played, I enjoyed certain things, but there's other aspects where I'm like, this is just a weird game. So it's a weird one.
So this game is just Munchkin.
Kind of. Very elegant
Munchkin. Okay, cool.
Yeah, super elegant, much better, objectively better Munchkin, but there is definitely some amount of like, oh, they're in the lead, go kill them.
All right.
And stuff. But some of the cards you can do it is interesting. It's one that I still want to play even again because it's interesting, but I'm not sold. Not sold. I'm not all out either.
Elaine asks, what is a Funkle? I have multiple songs. Funkle sounds for fun uncle.
Because
I have my beautiful
funnest of uncles.
Niece.
The funnest of all uncles.
Yeah, so I have like 3 Funkle shirts actually. A bunch of people gave me them and I love them. Not gonna lie, my favorite.
Nick, I'm not gonna lie. Your niece is pretty cool. You have a cool niece.
I love her more than anything in the world, Mikey. Get wrecked. That's fair though. Okay, so I played Last Will, Mikey, finally. And
for the first time in forever. We've obviously played Prodigal's Club a ton.
Yes.
And we played Last Will it would have been at Gamehouse Cafe.
Years and years ago.
Maybe it was 2018. I mean, it was a long time ago.
And it's really, really good. So this is the prequel to Prodigal's Club, which is one of my favorite games. So this is a game where this is kind of Brewster's Millions, the board game. Brewster's Millions is a movie where you have a rich uncle, and they die, and their inheritance is going to go to whoever is the poorest, because they need the money the most. So everyone's trying to like blow all their money to be the poorest so that they can get Brewster's Millions. So this is kind of that. We have a rich uncle that just died, and everyone is basically trying to hemorrhage all of their money so that they have the least amount of money. That's what you want. You have the least amount of money at the game. You want to have no bucks, basically. And it's really, really fun. There's a lot of similarities to Prodigal's Club. And I will say that I think I'll always like Prodigal's Club more, but Last Will get played significantly more. Because Last Will, we first played it years and years ago. We didn't really like it because it was way too heavy for us. But nowadays, we've played a lot of games. We're geniuses now. And it's not heavy like at all. For experienced gamers such as us, right? Like, we've played a lot heavier games. It's nowhere near as heavy as Prodigal's Club. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. And like you'll pick it up no problem, Mikey. It's really, really fun. I liked it so much.
It's just still so fun, the idea of like, buy a house for way too much money and sell it when the market tanks for way too little. It's just so opposite of what you normally are trained to do. And it's just delightful to engage in that, you know what I mean?
It's really fun. And the moment I can find it, I'll be picking it up again because
sounds good. I'm down, dude.
Love it. Indeed, Sasquatch, I have become a Funkle to the twins. I was with Sasquatch's. I was playing this with Sasquatch's husband and her father-in-law. Mike,
twinners.
Play a little Mets versus Minions.
Dude, we did for the first time.
It's been a long time.
Long time. So I went to Nick's house the other day. I made a little short about it, and we had like a little game day, just for fun, just purely to play games
What a
like normal
concept.
people do. And we made a little kind of goal to not play anything new to us. We wanted to just dust off some stuff off the shelves. Mechs vs. Minions absolutely qualified for that. We haven't played it since I think our play every game in a week marathon. So that's been
3 years.
3 years. This is a fun, cooperative, super overproduced game. I feel like this kind of ushered in the super overproduced games a little bit.
It's
because,
useful when you write games and you have billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah, it was like a novel thing. You're like, this is crazy produced, and now it's just like there are quite a few games that are super produced, which is just a thing. So this is a cooperative programming game where you're rocking around on these mechs and you're putting into your program things that'll move you, things that will activate weapons and stuff like that. And there's all these minions that are just kind of like marching forward, tick 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 tick, and trying to damage you or get to a certain goal or blow something up or hamper you in some way. And you're trying to make a program that's just going to work with what's going on, but then you might get damaged. And so Nick had a thing where he just kept having to turn to the right. So now as you program stuff, you're like, well, I have to take into account that I'm going to be forced to turn right. So how do I make sure I'm facing the correct way so I don't just have a program that leads to nothing? It's super fun, man. Great. It's just so fun. You can power up basically weapons if you stack the same color of card. Whatever's on top is like powered up to 3 times. They start doing crazy stuff. It's just super duper fun.
It's
just really cool.
It's a great game. I want to keep playing it. Rory asks, any chance in the near future we'll be doing or planning a Frosthaven playthrough? Probably not. We don't have Frosthaven. And probably not. Just probably not.
Yeah, not opposed to playing it. I just don't know when we'd have the opportunity.
Yeah. Mike, you got to play Motor City. I really want to.
Got to play some Motor City. We backed the Kickstarter, and then I just got a notification 20th Century sending it to us. So we'll have a second copy, maybe to give it away or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is the follow-up to Fleet the Dice game and Three Sisters from Motor City Games, ultimately. And this one's about Motor City, about making cars. So I really love the theme of this one a lot. All of these games, and Motor City very much included, come down to like drafting dice. Usually what's on the dice will give you certain types of actions or areas of your sheets of paper that you can activate. And you're kind of crossing off stuff in, different columns of things and trying to fill up areas of your board. This one was interesting. It had definitely felt like the third one in the series in terms of now when you're taking a die, there's a bonus that might be on that action that you get. The column that action is from, or the row based on the color, will give you an action, and the die itself gives you an action. So it just kind of felt like super powered up in terms of like the types of things you do. And you're kind of working on getting test driving cars, working on the engineering part of your board. There's now kind of like the goods track or something that your money track from Fleet the Dice game is like a car lot, and you're like selling cars and things like that. Cool. So I really enjoyed kind of the theming of it. I need to play it again for sure because it's only been the one time. But this is something I kind of also encountered with Three Sisters, where it's like, man, we played Fleet so much. Now we have like Three Sisters and Motor City that's like, it feels like a little bit like diminishing returns, not because of the games themselves. This isn't the games are getting worse and worse. Just my enjoyment of a roll and write of that nature. It's like I played so much Fleet that Three Sisters, while different and I really enjoyed it, is similar enough that I'm kind of like, I'm not going to reach the height that I did with Fleet. And Motor City is the same way. I'm not going to reach the height that I did with Fleet originally because I played so much of that. But that's not actually the games being worse at all, if that makes sense. I think this one is really solid.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Monster
Mash, happy to have you here.
What's up, Monster Mash? Alrighty.
Yeah.
Mike, I didn't know we were going to play this, but we actually both played this. We played a little bit of Mountain Goats. I got to play this with Slivers and Suze. This is a game by All Play or BoardGameTables.com at the time, but this is a game where you are lining out these cards, and there are different, essentially, sizes of mountains. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
And you are rolling 4 dice. And then you basically can make combos. So, like, if you rolled like a 6, 2, 2, and a 5, you could make 5 and 2 make it 7, a 6 and 2 make it 8. Now you have a 7 and an 8. And you have these mountain goats, and you're going up this corresponding numbers. If you get to the top, you're going to get a token of that number, which is going to be points at the end of the game. But if someone else gets to the top, they kick you down to the bottom. So you're basically just trying to get up to the top, get these points. If you get one of each value, you'll get an extra bonus points. Super simple, great little game, honestly.
Yeah, it's so fun. You just roll some dice, decide how to allocate those dice into groups, and then work up those little tracks. It feels kind of can't stoppy. It's not a push your luck game, but it feels like get to the top of these tracks. What's really fun is if I get to the top of the 6th track and no one catches up to me and I roll 6s again, I just take more and more tokens. So it's really fun to try to get to the top of a track and just hit it a bunch of times and take as many points before you ultimately get booted out. I thought it was fantastic. It plays really quickly.
Yeah.
It played fine at 2. It'll play great at 3 or 4, just because there's more like craziness with getting knocked off the top. But it was adorable.
Yeah, I really enjoyed 3, and it was definitely better at 3. But yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot.
Mike, we both played Next Station London. I also played this with you. I also played with Slivers and Suze as well. This is an interesting roll and write where you are building out subway routes in London, and each round you are essentially drawing one color of route. So purple, green, pink, blue, and you are flipping over these cards, and that's essentially going to tell you what kind of station that you can draw to, because there's like triangles, pentagons, circles. So basically on either end of that route, you then have to draw to like a triangle station and then a square station, yada, yada, yada. But then once that round is done, you're going to score that round, and then everyone passes their colored pencil to the left. And so now, let's say Mike had green and he's to my right. I now have green. So now this turn, I'm drawing the green route. And the purple route for me is done. It's just done. I can't ever go on to it. And you're trying to reach certain parts. You're trying to spread out your route as much as you can. You want as many different colors of routes hitting a station, but you can't cross stations. And so it's a pretty tough little roll and write, but really, really fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did horribly at it. And the thing is, you don't know quite how long each round is going to last. Yeah. Some could end really short, depending on the types of cards that come out. Some could go on for longer.
And between 5 and 10 cards, I think.
Yeah, so I really enjoy that there's like the uncertainty there. And there's like a lot of fun little things to consider along the way, but it's just you're getting to draw. I love that you have different colored pencils. So you're drawing out the different colors of the subway route, so it really looks kind of like a subway map at the end.
It's cool.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
I thought it was
really
good
roll right. Really good roll right.
Not like a less brutal like Metro X to me.
Kind of,
just because of theming.
I totally agree. Mike, we got to play Point City, and I'll tell you right now, Mikey, I think this might be that super quick engine builder for me.
Yeah, it's really good. This is the other one that's coming out from Flat Out Games and ultimately AEG as well.
We'll have coverage on this in deep dive sometime in the near future here.
Yep, we got our playthroughs already filmed and stuff, so check them out when they come out, please, and tell Flat Out that we sent you. We'd appreciate that. This is a quick engine building game where you have cards that on one side are resources, on the other side are types of buildings and stuff, and there will be certain sides face up at different points. And basically you want to get resources in your hand to be able to turn those in to build the building cards you're drafting out from this tableau of cards. And what's really cool is a lot of the buildings, when you build them, will just generate a permanent resource of like money or ecology or whatever. And so then it becomes easier to build stuff in the future because you have kind of more permanent resources. You don't have to spend as much time collecting those resource cards. And so this game has a lot of splendor to it.
Yeah, of course.
Where it's just like it becomes easier to grab stuff as you go. But then there's kind of 3 eras of the deck of cards will be kind of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, where the buildings become more valuable, but they also cost more money to build. Mm-hmm. And there's these kind of bonus tokens you get from these civic buildings that will give you points into the game for each like permanent industry resource you produce or each complete set of all the resource types you produce. So that adds, kind of more fun stuff to consider with getting those points into the game. I thought this game is fantastic. I played with Karen like 5 or 6 times. We played back to back to back to back. It's very really quick. Fun. It's a fantastic follow-up to Point Salad. It's not related to Point Salad, but it's got a similar kind of aesthetic and things like that.
Cards
and the front and back cards, but it's a really fantastic, to your point, like quick engine building game. I feel like for us, something like you're building a city and you have all these types of buildings and stuff like that makes it we can hook into a theme a little bit more than like Splendor, which is just like jewels. You're like, why do I get these? And it makes it green jewel. They're like, because, and I'm like, I don't like that. Totally. Whereas like Point City gives me enough that I'm like, I'm building like a little town with like an ice cream stand and a food truck and a bank.
There's kind of an ebb and flow in Point City where is it mind me if I'm wrong, Mikey. It's where if you take like a resource card, it gets replaced with a building, right?
Yeah, so in the tableau, if you take a resource card, a
Yeah.
building goes down. If you take a building, a resource card goes down.
And you have to take two cards that are adjacent to each other. And so it's like, sometimes you're like, oh man, I really want this building, but I don't really like any of the stuff around it. And so it's, to me, there's more choices. And I like...
You have to drop two cards that are adjacent to each other. So
and sometimes there's like a bunch of resources, not many buildings. Sometimes there's a bunch of buildings, not many resources. I just thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's dope. I think Point City is fantastic. I think it's going to blow up, and it should for sure. It's great. It's a great, quick little engine building, city building game.
Yeah, really, really good. Mike, I got to play Resurgence. Again, I played this with Slivers and Suze. I played 3 games that day, and this is the third one. This is a engine building worker placement game, kind of set in a post-apocalyptic kind of world where you have kind of like your little compound that you can upgrade as you're going, and there's different parts of like the map that you can put out workers, but your workers there are a couple different kinds of workers.
Okay. And
they're these little discs, and they're in a bag, so you're going to be pulling them out of a bag. And so kind of what you can do is dictated over what you pull. And then there's just kind of like, you can pick up new survivors, essentially, and they're usually going to give you some kind of ongoing ability on top of getting more stuff into your bag. And you're going to upgrade your compound, which will give you points, but there also means there's more worker placement spots, and only you can go to those ones. I believe everyone's compound's the same, though, so it's not like I have stuff that you don't necessarily have. And then you're essentially trying to fulfill these contracts, where you need to like make this thing, so you need to turn in this much oil, this much this much that, and then that's going to be kind of your biggest hit of points. I thought it was good. I don't think it was like necessarily anything super special. As far as like a worker placement engine building kind of game goes, but I did think it was good. I would gladly play it again. I don't think it's a game that I necessarily need, because it doesn't. Not that a game always needs to do something different, but it feels just kind of like a worker placement game. You know, it didn't really bring too much new to the table for me personally, but it was good, and I would gladly play it again. And it's got that kind of like black and white post-apocalyptic style to it. And it was good. I enjoyed it. Nice. I was like, oh, it's a good game, you know. But it didn't blow my hair back. Not that I have much anyway. You know.
I mean, it could have. You would have not maybe seen. It just would have been more of a sensation.
Indeed.
You know,
feels good.
Yeah.
Mike, you played Roll for the Galaxy. I put this in the new because have you played Roll for the Galaxy before?
I have.
Okay, I have. This should be here, but go ahead and talk about it now.
It's all right. You know what? It's always new to us. I played this on the same game night we played Inish, and Roll for the Galaxy. Obviously, like all the Race for the Galaxy games are really good. That's why there's been like 15 of them.
They sure have.
Roll for the Galaxy is super dope. I would really like to get this one, especially with the Ambition expansion. I've heard is really great. We just played base game, to my knowledge, but this is a game where you are doing kind of Race for the Galaxy stuff where you're building out development, settling planets, and producing and trading resources and stuff that's kind of very familiar with that. But you're rolling out these dice, your citizenry of dice. And then the types of dice faces you roll will give you the types of actions you can do, the phases you can do, kind of like Ares Expedition, Terraforming Mars. And you're going to choose one phase. You can take one of your dice and set it to any phase and put it down on a phase. That means that phase is going to happen. So what I really enjoy with Roll for the Galaxy is there's that little bit of like mind game of like, I think Jared's going to settle. So I'm not going to select that because I also want to shift this round. So I'm going to select shift and then put, my dice there and put and if settle happens, I've got dice ready to do that and make a planet and stuff like that. And then of course that doesn't happen. And you're all mad at someone for not doing the thing that you were hoping they did, even though they're like, that's not part of my plan. I'm like, well, I wanted it to be. It's really fun. And it goes by really fast. Basically, once someone built out 12 tiles, there's development tiles on the other side of the development tiles are planets. You will kind of trigger the end of the game, or you can kind of deplete the pool of victory points. So it's fun because some of the planets, some of the developments will give you kind of ongoing abilities and kind of boons. A lot of the planets that you get will give you more dice to roll, and the certain different colors dice will be kind of weighted toward one type of phase or the other. It's just really fun. It's really fun. It builds up and ramps up nicely and quickly and goes down smooth. Roll for the Galaxy is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I really want to try it. Brad, Mike, this just came out, but we played Sally Face Strange Nightmares.
We did, yes. It's just on crowdfunding now, and it's doing quite well for us. I'm going to play through on Tuesday. Watch the playthrough,
indeed.
Do it!
Sally Face Strange Nightmares is a story-driven game based off of the video game Sally Face, if you don't know that. It's a story-driven game, and it's one of those games that's like, if this is your first board game, it's gonna blow your hair back, right? Like it's really, really cool for your first. I would say if you're an experienced gamer, unless you really like Sally Face, it's probably not the game for you because it is pretty simplistic. But I do think it's a good way to get into story-driven games, particularly like because it's one of those things where we've talked about this before with games like this, where it's like their target audience isn't, I would assume, isn't board gamers. It's Sally Face fans, right? And there are decisions you have to make in this game. You can pull off some like cool combos. It's got a cool story. And so from our perspective, like I don't need to play Sally Face again, but like it's good because it's a true real game. It's not just like based off the IP and trying to get people's money.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like that's the thing that's so great about these IP things. Like they are actual games. Like you have decisions to make. You roll a dice. You can roll up to 3 times. There might be punishments for certain things you roll. Yeah. You get this pool of dice, and you get to choose how you allocate them. And they're fairly simple decisions. A lot of times it comes down to mysteries that need a certain dice space. You want to put as many of those as possible, but you can also use dice to deal with baddies that come up, to move, to activate hallway abilities. So there's enough decisions that if you're, like you said, if you're a new gamer, it'd be like, whoa, this is so cool. Yeah. I'm getting to interact with the game and the board and the cards in all these different ways. And there's these punishments and difficulty. I think it's such a good kind of like entry into board gaming. But yes, I fully agree with your assessments. Like if you're already here, you're already a gamer. We'll speak for ourselves. We don't need to return to this and play that again and again.
Exactly. Yeah. But again, if you're a Sally Face fan, get into it. Mikey, we played Scholars of the South Tigress.
Trash.
Asking us, which one do we like more? I don't know. We haven't played them each enough. I do really like.
We gotta know, man. They're like, let me know right now what's better. And I'm like, I don't know. And they're also so different. But Wayfarers is the edge.
This game is crazy good.
It's crazy good. I mean, Garfield Games is on a
been on a tear.
Some kind of tear right now. I mean, they are just unstoppable juggernauts. I mean, obviously they were doing well before the West Kingdom trilogy, but they just leveled up. Like I don't even know. Scholars of South Tigress is a really cool, like one of the coolest themed games I've ever seen.
Yes.
Where you are translating scrolls to Arabic. And you have translators that speak various language to get something all the way from like Chinese or Sanskrit back to Arabic. And you might go through Greek and Hebrew along the way based on these translators that you use. And I'm like, that is so tight. I love that the entire South Tigress trilogy is based on like knowledgeable pursuits and stuff instead of like conquest and war. It's just a nice like breath of fresh air. Yeah. We have plenty of those games and stuff, and this is cool. I prefer this a little bit. But the things that you're doing in the game are cool. And one thing that's kind of interesting to Scholars is like I do think Scholars is a crunchier overall game, but maybe an easier teach than Wayfarers.
I fully agree with that.
So I would maybe start, if we're going South Tigress trilogy, I would maybe start people on Scholars before Wayfarers. It's overall crunchier because of all the ways you can mitigate your dice and do different things. But there's only 4 action types, and so that's kind of nice that you can explain like, hey, here's translators, here's working up these research tracks, here's translating scrolls, and here's how you get the scrolls to the House of Wisdom. That's kind of it. That's
how I've been describing it. I'm like, they're both very different games, just like the West Kingdom games. They're all extremely different. They're not even remote. As people who played, we'll talk about them all. We just played all 3 of them back to back. They're not similar. Wayfarers and Scholars are not similar at all.
Yeah.
But I will say that Wayfarers is harder to teach, even though it's the lighter of the 2 games.
Just because it's so kind of wombo-tastic.
Well, and it's like it's so open-ended, whereas Scholars is pretty linear. Yeah.
Trying to get the scrolls into the House of Wisdom, translate those scrolls. There's a lot of intuition I think that you can be gleaned from the game because it uses color and stuff like that, which I think is really cool. So Scholars of Tigress is just another
very good.
Another A++ win. Garfield's just killing it. They're crushing it so hard. They are on fire right now.
We played Shikansen Zero Kai. Mikey picked this game kind of randomly. This is a game where you are building out a railway getting ready for the Olympics.
Bullet train for the Olympics in Japan,
Yeah.
It's a Kaido line.
Yeah. It's pretty cool because you're getting these cards, and the cards will essentially have different cities on them.
Yeah.
But you want to score those cities, but to score those cities, they have to be developed. So they have to have track there. You want to have buildings there if you can as well. So it's one of those things where it's like you're getting these cards which are allowed you to do certain actions, but you also need to make sure that the cities that are on those cards get built and get developed as well.
Yeah.
Which was, especially in a 2-player game, was like pretty tough. We did not develop every city.
Yeah, and I feel like in a higher player count game, you're going to get less turns per round than we did. And so I don't think that in any game probably it will get fully built, or I think it'd be tough to get it done, which is interesting. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So you're really trying to make sure that the cards you've drafted and basically where you've invested are the ones that get developed and kind of leave the rest by the wayside.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I thought this game was like solid. This game solid. Definitely fell into like a good little game category. Totally. Right on. It's well made. It's well produced. It's mechanically very like solid and everything like that. It just didn't like knock my socks off.
No.
And it's like that's okay. Like as I'm trying to remember, it's like it's okay that sometimes you play a game and they're like that was enjoyable.
Yeah.
If I never play it again, all right, I'll be fine. And if I play it again, great. You know, like totally. it falls into that kind of cool category.
Yeah, that's exactly sounds exactly how it falls. This is good.
Yeah, right on.
That was good. I put on here we played the Tome Saga because we have now played the Tome Saga. This is an expansion for the West Kingdom series. And we'll talk about those games here briefly. We played the Tome Saga, which kind of connects them all, where you have these objectives that you're going for, and if you claim these objectives before your opponents, you get them, and then you they are now tomes, and you want to have the most tomes by the end of Viscounts of the West Kingdom, the third game. Whoever has the most tomes wins. And it was really, really cool because also these tomes will also give you a power, kind of a special ability in the next game, which was really, really cool.
I love that kind of connective. Me too. I thought it was like, it's the way I looked at it afterward is like, it's just a good excuse to play 3 really good games.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about specifically in a minute, the West Kingdom games. And so it's just a nice way to have like a little bit of like the through line between them, to have be given certain objectives in a game. Like I had one where it's like for paladins, I want to have like 5 or 6 unpaid debts. Yeah. I'm like, ooh, that's something. That's really interesting. So I was like, well,
all debts.
Yeah, I was like, well, maybe this will allow me to like get these cards that I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want to normally take a debt and stuff. And I was able to kind of like explore the game in a slightly different way because I was trying to go for a certain goal. And I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was really neat. And you can also get tomes by straight up winning the game. Yes. So it's not the only path to points. But I thought it was really neat. And plus each version, we haven't tried them, but the Tome Saga also gives you cooperative ways to play all 3 games. So I'm really excited to like explore that. Like, what does that look like? I thought it was cool. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I really want to try the cooperative. I thought it was very, very cool. I thought it was rad. It was really, really rad.
It was really cool.
Alrighty. I think the last of the new stuff, we played Union Station, Mikey. This is a Cube Rail game, our first Cube Rail game.
First Cube Rail game from New Mill, and they do very limited print runs of very small kind of self-produced games. And I wanted to support, and I'm glad I did. We never played a Cube Rail game, so they're kind of stock market train route building games, but very kind of streamlined and light, or much lighter than like an 18XX game, I should say. Not all of them are super light. This one was, though. Basically on a turn. Yeah, basically you can lay some track on a turn, which will typically increase the value of whatever company's track you're laying. You can buy some stock for one of the companies, or you can sell all the stocks you have of a company. And you ultimately want to have the most money at the end of the game. So it's really fun to kind of lay out those tracks, buy up stocks, and then as dividends get paid out, a certain amount of money, depending on the value of that company, say it's $35, will get paid out equally amongst the stocks that are out there. So if there's 5 stocks out there, everyone's getting $7 per stock. If I have 3 of those stocks, guess what? I get 21 of those dollars because I own more of the company. And those kind of things were really fun, but I like that it wasn't like so bogged down with the math of it all. It was just like kind of simple and everything in a very small footprint. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was a cool little Cube Rail. Nice to get into Cube Rail games with this one. Yeah, small footprint. I thought it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess this one was a disc rail game technically, but you get it.
No cubes in this one. That's
no cubes in the game whatsoever.
All right, so now we'll kind of blitz through the games we played before. We played Architects of the West Kingdom, which we did. This is the first of the West Kingdom games. This is a worker investment game where you are trying to build up the cathedral. One thing I will say for the Tome Saga, we played all 3 of these on our Mini Murph Marathon. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a
long time ago. We also played with every expansion in the game. So it was a big day of games. So we played with the Works of Wonder and the Age of Artisan expansions in this. And I still really, I love all 3 of these games, but I really, really love Architects. It's just so fun. You can keep putting workers in the same spot, and that spot keeps getting stronger. Then people can come round up your people. It was very, very cool. I think the Works of Wonder and the Age of Artisans expansions are good. I don't think they some people really, really like them. I like the Age of Artisans. I think I like more than the Works of Wonder expansion.
I like them both. They both fall into the category of you don't necessarily have to or will interact with the expansions a ton in the game. I prefer I'd want to play them with them in there because why not? They don't change up stuff too much. And for me, I like being able to work on the wonders because I, for whatever reason, really struggle to get my building cards built in the game. Yes. So I liked having something else to kind of pour my energy into in the game. But Architects is really fun. I prefer it with the expansions in, and I'd really love to play some 3 and 4 player games of the game because I think the game will be at its best
for sure
at higher than 2 player.
Yeah, but it's still excellent.
It's so
I played a little bit of Decorum. I played this with Nate and Cindy's family. It was a 4 or 5 player game. It was basically everybody. And man, cool. It was a 4 player game. And man, oh man, we ended up not finishing the game because there were so many
started fighting
times.
In real life. You started actually fighting.
So this is a game where you're decorating a house together, and everyone has very strict stipulations of how they need the house to look. I can't have any green stuff upstairs. I have to have a matching amount of red and blue things in the house as a whole. And there's a way to have all of these things happen. But you're constantly just moving stuff in and out of the house, and then you can only ever say whether or not you like what happened or you don't like what happened, basically.
You can't talk about the why. You can't say why you're enjoying these choices or not. You just are
there were so many times where 3 of the 4 of us were fine, had everything fine, but there was just no way to get that last person, and we ended up not winning. It was it was rough. We played for a while, and we just could not get there. We just absolutely could not get there. But it's still man, Decorum is just so much fun. I love it so much.
Yeah. It's it's a really fun game.
Sasquatch said I hated that effing house. Yeah, Sasquatch was in that game. Yeah,
Sasquatch was dissatisfied.
On that trip with Nate and Cindy, I also played Dog Park, which I had played before. I think on
that's right.
I think on Tabletopia I played. It was on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And I feel the exact same way I did then. I feel the same way now, where it's got a lot of wingspan-y stuff to it, but it's just kind of like Wingspan with dogs, but I just don't think it's as good as Wingspan. Okay. It's got really pretty art. It's one of those things where it's you're going to get this game because you love dogs, and all the cards are unique. There's hundreds of different dogs, and they're really, really well drawn. But essentially, you are drafting these dog cards, and then you have to then take them for walks, and then taking them for walks allows you to put collars on them, and that's going to be points at the end of the game. It's a fine game. I think it's fine. I do think this game kind of gets by on the fact that there's there's tons and tons and tons of dogs and really good art. But I think it's fine. I felt the same way that I did before, where it's kind of I'd rather just play Wingspan. Right. But it's a good game. It's a good game.
Nice. Right on. Maybe Shinkansen vibe there. Just sure.
Yeah, it's fine. I played Green Team Wins. I think it's one of the best party games out there. This is a game where you're going to have some kind of prompt.
So stinking good, man.
Draw on the blank, which is blank mustard. Everyone has to draw what they think the blank should be. And then whatever the majority is, all those people get put onto the green team. You want to be on the green team. And the green team wins, always. So you get more points if you can stay on the green team.
It's the best team. It's the best team to be on.
And it's the best word association game kind of thing out there. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, it creates so much fun, little fake faux rivalries between people. You get so smug when you're on the green team. If you get ousted on the orange team, it creates that fun discussion because you're in a fun way. You're how could you not understand that it should be this? And you feel it's just it creates so much good energy and conversation. So good. Oh man, Green Team Wins is just
Again,
It's so fun, man. It's so fun.
For a kind of word association party game, I honestly think it's the best one out there. I think it's so much fun. Okay, what's next here? Oh, we just played Hallertau.
We did. Hallertau is still a great Uwe Rosenberg game. Newer one, and you are doing typical kind of Uwe farming stuff and producing crops and animal goods like hides and wool and milk and things like that. And ultimately to kind of play out, hopefully, cards that we're going to give you. This is they call them bonus cards, which will give you kind of resources that you just kind of produce round after round. These kind of scoring cards, which you'll kind of, as you've built up, you'll turn in a bunch of resources or whatever it may be to score kind of your big hits of points. You're ultimately trying to work on this community center. You want to better the town by building out these different buildings, which are sliding them down this board, which allows your community center to slide over, which means from round to round, you'll get more workers, first of all, which is really nice. And then eventually, as you upgrade it more and more, you'll start to produce a big amount of points at the end of the game for having upgraded that community center. So it's just Stardew Valley, and it's pretty great. I really enjoyed it. I like the card play.
I really enjoyed it. I think this one's going to keep climbing for me. I really like Hallertau. It's just really, really fun. I just think it's outstanding.
Yeah. There's a little bit of card luck stuff that can happen where you're like, oh man, I drew this card and I already just have it fulfilled. Here, I can play it. But
But that does happen a lot, where that usually happens a lot for a lot of people. One of the reasons why I like the card drawing of the game is, God, a third of the time you're like, oh, cool, I'll just play this right now, and it's like it's very cool for that. But Hallertau is great.
I enjoy it.
I gotta play just one. I played this with Sass Queen in chat as well. Again, another good word association game where someone has a prompt and the word might be like spider or something like that, and then everyone has to that person will close their eyes, whoever's guessing, and everyone else will write down on their little placard a word that will get the person to guess that word. But if there's any duplicates, like if we put like legs, for like daddy long legs or eight legs.
That's what I would have put.
If you have any repeats, both those people have to erase their words. And so you want to think outside the box. But what always happens with this game, why I think this game is so fun, is because everyone's thinking so far out the box that no one does the most easy answer. Because everyone's like, oh, everyone's going to choose arachnid.
Everyone gets too cute. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone's just like, I know what to say. And you're like, everyone's already written that down, dude. You know what I mean?
And so it's just, it works every time. It's still really fun. I think Just One's a great co-op word association game. This is a game you can play with an infinite amount of people. If they all have pieces of paper, you can play this with literally anyone. It was super fun. Yeah, Just One's great.
Yeah, Bobby, good luck building that coffee table. Make sure you use that tasty glue on it. Am I right?
That's right. Thanks, Bobby. Mike, you played Long Shot.
I played Long Shot, the dice game. Le Dice game. This is a fantastic horse racing betting game that's not real time like Ready, Set, Bet, but it's a roll and write. So you're going to roll some dice that are going to move one of the horses up to 3 spaces, and you're doing one lap around this little track. And then whatever horse gets activated, oftentimes you'll activate one or more of the other horses who will move 1 space up. And then based on whatever number was rolled, you're going to choose to do something with that. Say it was an 8 that got rolled. You can place a bet on the number 8 horse. You can buy the number 8 horse. You can put a helmet or a jersey on the jockey of the number 8 horse. Or if you're on your concessions, which is like a little rows and columns situation, you can cross off an 8. As you complete those rows and columns of concessions, you'll get these bonuses. As you place bets on the horses, if they manage to place, show, or win, you will get payouts from that and stuff. Yep. And so you're kind of trying to, as the race progresses, make your bets wisely, spend that money, and use the concessions to kind of gain back more cash and stuff. It's just really fun because the race always kind of takes a turn at some point where you're like, 4 is way out there in the front. They're definitely going to win, and they just stop rolling.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, here comes 2, and they come racing around and stuff. So I love that. It always ends up exciting and close.
Every single time. I've never played. We played a lot of this game. I've never played a game where the race was boring, basically.
No, never. And what's cool is when you do a jersey action, you can take whatever horse was rolled in the 8, and you can cross off one of the other horses on the bottom, so that if I put a bunch of money on 4, I want all the horses make sure that 4 has that checked off, so that they're always going to move 1 space, even if they don't get rolled, or maybe even in addition to them getting rolled. So it's just really fun, and there's simple decisions to make. It's fairly simultaneous play. It's just really great.
Yeah,
Long Shot's a fantastic roll and write. Plays up to 8 people. You can solo it, and it's great all the way through on player counts. It does not matter.
It really is. It really,
it's
really
fantastic.
is. Yeah,
Fantastic. Yeah, a game that anyone in the family can play. Absolutely. It's a fantastic game.
Yeah, I got to play a Lost Ruins of Arnak. I played this with a wonderful person named Shannon.
Nerd.
We were at Chip Theory Games. We were looking for someone to play, and Shannon never played Lost Ruins, so I taught the base game of the expansion. And we were supposed to play this recently, but I've been getting sick a lot, unfortunately, as I'm dying.
You have had a bad run
right
lately.
Now.
It is my fault.
This one is your fault. Yeah, this one. That baby. Oof, everyone that's house got sick. But nonetheless, so we were supposed to play this. Mike ended up soloing this game. It's got a really good solo. But man, playing it again, I was like, it had been a little while since I played Lost Ruins, and I had forgotten just how much I like Lost Ruins of Arnak, especially with the Expedition Leaders expansion, which gives everyone like an asymmetric deck, asymmetric person. It's just so good. This is a game where you are discovering kind of like lost, abandoned temples, and you're going deeper and deeper and deeper into the jungle. You are, we put this on the thematic list because there's a lot of thematic stuff with it where you're going up this research track, but you have a magnifying glass and a journal. And someone brought up, like, and your magnifying glass always has to be up ahead of your journal because you can't journal your findings until you've seen them with your magnifying glass.
I had never thought of that. I was like, that's so cool. And like, that's how they do it subtle like that, where I'm like, that does make sense. You got to see it before you can write about it.
And it takes more, it's harder to get deeper and deeper into the jungle. As the game goes on, you're finding more artifacts as opposed to items because you are getting deeper into the jungle. The Kathy just asked, does the expansion add a lot? Yes, it does. It's not. Yeah. It doesn't add a lot in terms of doesn't make it more complicated. That much more complicated. No. But it adds like more sites, more assistants, more guardians, and having everyone be asymmetric. It's chef's kiss. And it's so much fun. I had forgotten just how much I love Lost Ruins of Arnak. I was like, oh, that's right. I freaking love this game. It's really, really fun. I love Lost Ruins of Arnak.
It's really solid. What's up, player one?
Mikey, you played a little Vice City? You played on like BGA or something?
I've been playing with a couple of our friends. We're going through the campaign again. I actually played some more of it last night. So
are you playing? Are you playing it physically?
Yeah, played physically with the Camerons. So they came over last night. We played Chapter 2. It's a fantastic tiling game. It is on Board Game Arena. You can play through the whole campaign on Board Game Arena, which is freaking pretty nice thing that you can do that. Yeah. But they have their copy that they hadn't played physically, and obviously you, me, and Karen played it through a few years ago and loved it so much. It's still great. It's a simple game. And that's what I like about it. It's like, man, this is for a legacy game, for at least for us, right? And the way we are, it's hard to get through them. This one is easy to get through. Yeah. The game is simple enough. It's quick enough that it's easier to get through. It's not so much to remember. But ultimately, it comes down to you have all these polyomino shapes, and you're going to flip over a card, and if like the blue long L comes up, everyone has to add that into their board. Yeah. Now, where you add it and how exactly you shape it and stuff is up to you, but you have to add those pieces, or you can lose a victory point to basically say, I'm not going to place that this episode and forego placing it, because maybe the way you're building stuff, you don't want to do that. There's like rocks on the board you want to cover up. There's trees you want to leave exposed. And then as the game progresses, more and different and varying scoring conditions and rules come up. It's just really fun. We played Chapter 2 yesterday, which shakes stuff up. And then we previewed Chapter 3 and shakes stuff up. It's just so cool. It's just so
yeah, I cannot wait for my island. I really want to play the roll and ride, which we have. I like to play the roll and ride a little bit. It's my city's so good. It's a legacy game that you can get played. And for us, that's very rare. My city's outstanding. Now on to the next one. We played Paladins West Kingdom with the City of Crowns.
We did.
Is it City of Crowns? Yeah, City of Crowns. I think so. Expansion, which I really like. The Paladins expansion. I will say after playing all three of these again, I still maintain Paladins is my least favorite of the three. I do really enjoy it. But yeah, so in the City of Crowns expansion adds like these muster cards where you can have this little dude go around and grab extra cards. They essentially can allow you to do actions without having to place workers on your worker placement board. So you can do like a full commission action by essentially entrusting one of these nobles to do it for you. And you get like a really, really big virtual boost to that action. So a commission action takes faith. If you do it over here on the City of Crowns board, it might be like you can do a commission action and you have +5 to your faith.
So awesome.
It's really cool. Awesome. Paladins is just like It's a good game. It's good. It's crunchy. It's big. It's heavy. I really, really like it. It's still my least favorite of the three, but I still really, really like it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was a fun game to play. And this is the game where Mike was taking all these debts because of the Tome Saga, ended up turning all of them over, and ended up crushing me pretty good. But man, at one point Mike had like negative 25 points or so, like just
I had to dig myself out of a hole. Now the cool thing is when the debts flip, they go from being negative 2 points to positive 1. So I went from negative 16 to positive 8. It was a 24 point swing that way.
Huge.
So, but it was a lot of work to get done.
I was like, if Mike can turn over all these debts, I think he's going to be able to do it. Yeah, Mike beat me pretty good. But yeah, Paladins it's just so good. The whole West Kingdom series is very, very good. We're going to play Pulsar 2849, Mikey.
We did indeed. This Vladimir Suki space game where you are you're kind of doing a few different things. You're sort of getting these technologies and special actions and stuff from each round more and more become kind of available, and we're all sort of jockeying to grab those first. You're drafting dice. And the dice will kind of dictate certain things that you can do. A lot of the actions that you're trying to do will need certain values of dice. You can build out like parts of your space station. You can go warping around the galaxy and getting these little pulsars, these little what do they call them? The little things that go spinning.
Gyro something.
Gyrodynes. And get them spinning to get points and stuff. Yeah. This one's kind of got like a bunch of different things that you can kind of focus on and everything. This one, for me, after playing it the second time now, it's a really solid mechanical game. It feels very Vladimir Suki, where you feel like under the pressure of time immediately. Yeah. There's not nearly enough time to get as much stuff as you want to get done. I prefer like Praga and Woodcraft and Underwater Cities because the thematic experience is more interesting to me than just like space stuff. Yeah. But Pulsar is very good. And if you like space things, I think it's going to be a great one. So I'm like, really enjoy it still, but I would slot it down. It'd probably be my least favorite Vladimir Suki game of the ones we've tried. Purely because for you it might be Underwater Cities beneath that still, but I just prefer the themes of everything else. But it feels it's very solid as always.
I definitely think I like this game more than you do. I really like it. The thing with Vladimir Suki is like you have like Prodigal's Club, Last Will, and Praga, like Woodcraft. Those are all like on my top 100 probably, right? So it's like it's one of those things like. But I do like this one. I think I like it probably more than Mikey does a little bit. But it's a very good game. But Vladimir Suki comes out with a lot of good games. But it's very fun. Mikey, you played a bunch of So Clover. It's a great game.
Did. Sorry about that. I'm just.
This is kind of a sequel to Just One, ish. But it's made by the same people. And so basically, this game, you have a 4-leaf clover, a dry erase 4-leaf clover, and you are given 4 cards that you put on your 4-leaf clover, which means each side of your clover is going to have 2 words associated with it. It could be like computer and park, something like that. And then you have to write a clue that makes both of those. So, I don't even know, computer and park.
Chat room? I don't know.
Sure, right? So then, once everyone's written down their 4 clues, you take all the 4 clues off your board, you add a 5th card just to mess stuff up, shuffle the whole thing, and then everyone else has to try and put your clover back together. It's so much fun. Yeah.
It's really cool. And like the thing that's fun is that like you're looking at all these, as the clover's been disassembled, you're like, it'd be impossible to reassemble this, but you can actually do it. You start to like, oh, this kind of looks like a computery thing, and if this letter's on this side of the card and this one's here, they can really only go to this part of the clover, and that makes a lot of sense given these 2 clues. It's so fun to put back together. I think it's just a fantastic kind of word clue game. It's probably my favorite at this point. I mean, it's just really fun, really solid.
Yeah. So Clover's great. It good. It be good. We played Teotihuacan, City of the Gods with every single expansion.
We're doing a lot this month. We're just going all in.
At the same time, yeah. We played this on our game day where we played Mechs vs. Minions and another game we'll talk about here in a bit. It had been a long time since I played Teotihuacan, and it was kind of like, that's right, this game's incredible. And we played with all the expansions. I actually hadn't played with the expansion period, the newest one. And man, it was really fun to play with the expansions, all of them. Because one thing about the game is like you can choose to interact with stuff. Board and Dice does this a lot with their games, where it's like with expansions, you can just choose to not interact with it really, which is cool.
There's nothing in the expansions of Teotihuacan where if you don't interact with this, you're going to lose.
Yes, no.
It's like it's either you can take it or leave it, or it's just kind of put into the game in a way where it just kind of naturally fits into the flow of everything. So with like the expansion period, one thing they give you is kind of boards for the different resource gaining spots, where now you can gain obsidian, and obsidian is a wild resource. There's also some things that call for obsidian specifically, and that just opens up the game a little bit, where it's just like, ooh, now I have some options of what I want this resource to be. So and I'm just like, man, if I never play another expansion part from Board and Dice, from Teotihuacan, I will put the obsidian in just because it makes it a little bit easier. You know what I mean? It's only slightly. And so like, that's nice. You know what I mean? But you don't have to like do any brain power to interact with that. And then if you like don't want to deal with the orange temple from Teotihuacan, just don't. Like you can find ways to victory elsewhere. It's just options, and it's really fun to explore those options. And so,
really good.
Yeah, putting it all in, and granted, you have to know Teotihuacan to go for this, but putting it all in just made it kind of more of a big fun playground to play on.
Yeah, totally. HD Gaming said, new Kickstarter all in of TO coming soon. Yeah, we will be covering the new deluxe Teotihuacan. I think should be getting to us in a couple weeks here, but in a month or so we'll be covering it on our channel. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah,
I am
stand by.
Very excited for that.
I cannot wait. It looks so good. All right, looks so good.
The last one in our West Kingdom series, we played Viscounts, and at this point, Mikey, Viscounts might be my favorite. It's always been between Viscounts and Architects, but god dang, Viscounts is just so smooth. And also, I really like the two expansions of Viscounts, Keeper of the Keys and Gates of Gold. I think are really cool.
They really add a lot of fun variety to the game. They give you cool stuff like the little chests you can get beneath your player board, which is now kind of a dual layer situation.
Yeah, which is nice.
Give you the ability to kind of mitigate when a certain card basically has a certain icon above it. It does this, and so adds this kind of flexibility. There's more hero cards you can get. There's these kind of outsiders which you can either kind of dismiss or kind of bring into the fold, which give you endgame scoring. The expansions of Viscounts are dope. They're both awesome. I love playing with both of them in. And Viscounts, remains my favorite. If just barely above Paladins, because it's got a lot of the weight of like a Paladins, but it's just so smooth. The turns, a lot of turns are very fast.
Yes, they are fast, snappy, especially two.
I like it. Yeah, I like it a lot.
I freaking love Viscounts Last Kingdom. I think it might have taken over Architects for my number one after playing this last time. It was just nice. Very cool. Yeah. Alrighty. We played Woodcraft. Suki. Love some Woodcraft. We actually we played it because we filmed a playthrough of it. It'll come out at some point. We're not really on that one.
We have a really packed schedule, so we're like, I don't know when that's going to come out, but it will.
Sure. It will eventually. Woodcraft is a dice manipulation game where you are building stuff out of wood, and there are three kinds of dice: green dice, yellow dice, and brown dice. Which are different kinds of dice with different rarity. And this is a cool thing where this is a game where you're manipulating dice really in no way that I've ever seen before. Where if you have a brown 6, you can use one of your saws, which is one of your tools, to cut that brown 6. And you can make you can get a brown 2 and a brown 4, or 2 brown 3s, or a 5 and a 1. And then you can cut that one even more from there. And then you can take 2 pieces of wood and glue them together to essentially make a higher value dice. You can take scrap wood and put it on the side to increase the pip value. You can do all these really cool thematic things, but ultimately you're just trying to fulfill contracts. But the contracts require mostly dice, but they require very specific values. So if you need a green 3, you need a green 3. You can't pay.
Can't overpay, can't underpay. Because you can't have, like, if you think about it, if you're making a wood thing, you can't have a bigger piece of wood than is required. Then you got the thing hanging off.
Yeah,
you have to be precise.
It's really fun, though. I really like Woodcraft. I'm very curious of where it's going to land for me in terms of Vladimir Suki. I think it's going to be a close second with that and Prodigal's Club. I really like Woodcraft a lot.
Yeah, with you there, man. It's so cool. It's just, Ross Arnold and then Vladimir put the old magic to work there. Sure, I think it's so fantastic. I think it's really, really fun.
Last thing, I believe this is the last. We played World's Fair 1893.
Still so good, Nick. Still so good.
So good.
Such a good game. It's such a good game. It's a fantastic game set. The World's Fair. It's an area control game where you have basically, you kind of want to have the most of your supporters in the 5 different areas of the fair. You know, there's one that's all about electricity because it was new at the time, agriculture and arts and crafts and things like that, industry. And you are putting out supporters on a turn at one of the locations. You're going to collect all the cards from that location. They may have midway things, which give you some money, which are points at the end of the round, and we'll kind of time out the round. There's cards that are the colors of the different types of areas in the board, which you hope to turn into tokens, which are set collections up for points. And then there's different people who are at the World's Fair that are going to give you, on each turn, once you place your supporter, any of those brown cards, or kind of these beige cards with the people that you have to trigger all their abilities and discard those cards. And they will allow you to move supporters around, add extra supporters to maybe a different area than where you added your one on the turn, put a second supporter in the spot that you just placed, all sorts of things like that. So it's really simple stuff that's going on in the game. Yeah. Like the rule set, there's nothing like a confusing action. And if you win an area, you're going to get a medal, which are points, and you can turn in some of those cards for those tokens, like I said. So there's just some fun, simple stuff to kind of focus on, because you're trying to get the set collection. It's fairly intuitive to figure out how to do that. Oh, I need a complete set. I don't have any blues. Well, maybe I'll try to put a bunch of people into the blue section this round, get some blue cards, and then turn them into tokens. Bam, set complete. You know, it's really kind of accessible. The board is so cool because you assign it the 5 areas randomly each game, and they go around a Ferris wheel to make a Ferris wheel shaped kind of hexagonal board.
Yeah, it's a
just super cool looking. This game is just like, from the first time I laid eyes on it, I was like, whoa, this looks amazing. And still, every time I put it together to play it, I'm like, whoa, this looks amazing. It's just so cool. Never
gets old. Yeah, it's very, very good. Alrighty, fam, and that is it.
That's that. That is it, everybody.
Games played this, but had a good month for games, and it's super awesome. All right, we're probably gonna get on out of here because I am still very sick, and so
this was Nick's Michael Jordan flu game, everybody. Well done. Hey, we'll look back on this someday and be like, wow, he was quite ill, wasn't he? You did good, my man. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Rapid Reviews. This month we have a ton more content coming out. I will be out of the country for most of the month, but we pre-recorded stuff, so you'll never even know. It'll be great. We hope to see you throughout the month, and make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. We'd really appreciate that. If you are new to us, you're just stopping by, we are the Brothers Murph. Consider subscribing. We got lots of fun stuff, and we'll see y'all real soon.